Derelioğlu, talking about the higher objectives of the Islamic divine law.
Thank you very much. I want to present my speech here. It's more comfortable if you don't mind. So, first, let me introduce myself. I'm a lecturer in this university. My university education in theology, specialized in Islamic jurisprudence. My master in history of religions, especially in the Mormon Church. And my doctorate is about hermeneutic, commentary of the scriptures, the moderate community in the shade of scriptures. Also, I'm teaching in here in Arabic language, let's say, commentary of the Quran and the comparative study of religions. This is the summary of me. So my topic is the higher objectives of the Islamic divine law. It's a major topic. In this limited time, I try to cover everything I'm planning to cover, hopefully. And it's a pleasure to be here discussing important issues which are imperative need to members of different cultures and religions. So, first of all, I want to study my speech with a case study, the abandoned ship as a case study. 300 people were in a boat sailing on the sea. They realized that their life was at risk, and the lives of the majority could only be saved by throwing 10 people overboard. Would it be morally right to kill 10 people in order to save 290? This case was actually presented by Imam al-Ghazali, a great Islamic scholar and thinker, in his book on the principles of Islamic jurisprudence called Al-Mustasfa min Ilm al-Usul. Let us look at the objectives of Islamic divine law before attempting to answer this question. The justification of moral and legal actions in Islam is not based on personal reflection or personal desire or the benefits of the majority. It is only justified by the Quran, the divine revelation came to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the word of God, and Sunnah, the living example of the Quran, his life as an example, and his sayings, or the Islamic divine law, Sharia. First, Maqasidu Sharia, I'll try to reflect on this term. The objectives of Islamic law, Maqasidu Sharia, is very important to understand the meaning and wisdom behind the Islamic law. It can be considered as the summary of the entire Islamic law. Al-Maqasid is the plural of maqsid, which is derived from the word qasd, meaning a goal, intention, a place to reach, and or a way which is moderate, balanced, the most secure, and shortest. Maqasid al-Sharia in its terminological meaning is the major, universal, and comprehensive objectives of the Islamic divine law. For example, the maqsad of the Islamic law is the establishment of justice. Maqasid is the answer of the question, why? Maqasid hold the answer for the question, why, such as, why Muslims do not drink alcohol? There is a prohibition, but what is the wisdom behind that? Soon after I'll try to explain, it's for the preservation of mind, honor of mankind, dignity, and so forth. Now, I want to move forward to another title. Why Allah, the Exalted, revealed a divine law. What is the purpose? Muslim scholars of jurisprudence expressed different opinions in this respect. Some said that Allah the Exalted revealed such a legislative system or Sharia in order to attain justice. Others said it is for the purpose of achieving happiness. And still some others, especially Al-Ghazali, thinks that it is only for the achievement and the realization of the very benefits of man on earth. A closer look at these three approaches to Sharia shows that they complement each other. Happiness of mankind cannot be achieved at large without justice. And justice is one of the essential benefits and interests of people on earth. Here I would like to quote something informative concerning the purpose and the spirit of Islamic law, what the Sharia is all about. He's answering Sharia is all about four important issues: wisdom, mercy, justice, and common good. Therefore, anything that goes against them is not Sharia. There are verses, but because of the limited time, I will not go in detail. So anything that takes Sharia from being about mercy to being about cruelty is not Sharia. From being about common good to being about mischief is not Sharia. From being about wisdom to being about nonsense is not Sharia. According to Ghazali, the Islamic divine law has one basic universal purpose: to make real the best interest of humans on earth, which is called in the Islamic tradition as maslaha, or the plural masalih. In Arabic language, that word literally means benefit or interest. It is what which secures a benefit or prevents harm, as defined by Imam al-Ghazali. There are verses in the Quran gives us such a notion as maslaha. I will quote some verses here. Surely God does not love disorder and corruption. In other words, it is He who prepared the earth for your life before He gave you life and created all that is in the world for you. In other words, O you who believe, do not consume one another's wealth in wrongful ways, such as theft, extortion, bribery, usury, gambling. Except it be dealing by mutual agreements. In other words, God wills ease for you, and He does not will hardship for you. In other words, God enjoins justice and the right judgment in all matters, and devotion to doing good, and generosity toward relatives. And He forbids you indecency, wickedness, and vile conduct, all offenses against religion, life, personal property, chastity, and health of mind and the body. He exhorts you repeatedly so that you may reflect and be mindful. These verses emphasize that the Islamic law or Sharia aims at the masalih, or the benefits of man on earth. Now, the dimensions of the theory of maqasid. There are circles, one inside the another, which is forming the maqasid theory in Islam. In the center, the Quran and the Sunnah. And according to Imam al-Ghazali, masalih or benefits should be compatible with objective of the Sharia. Since the basic purpose of legislation is to protect the interest of people against harm, in regard to their importance and priority, benefits are divided by Muslim scholars into three kinds, surrounding the circle in the center, the Quran and Sunnah. So next, the essentials, the five necessities of life, let's say. In Islamic tradition, it's called daruriyya or daruriyat, are things on which the lives of people depend and whose neglect leads to total disruption and chaos. Soon after, I will reflect upon these essentials. And then the next circle, the complementary needs or human exigencies, it's called hajiyat, are matters that people need in order to remove restrictions and difficulties in applying the five necessities of life. And the next circle is the embellishment or tahsiniyat. These are accessories to make life easier, more beautiful, and they try to elevate people to a level on which they gain higher moral values. Now, the five essential necessities of life. They are 5 basic and universal necessities or priorities on which the lives of people depend, and whose neglects leads to total disruption and chaos individually and socially. These necessities are necessary matters, are absolute requirements to the survival and spiritual well-being of individuals, to the extent that their destruction and or collapse would bring about chaos and the demise of normal order in society. If the individual and society lack any of these, it would severely threaten the spiritual or physical life of the individual and society. So these 5 necessities of life are like the ultimate umbrella under which all the rules of Islamic divine law fall. Now we will deal with these 5 essential necessities one by one. First, so the priorities are important. The first one is the preservation of religion, Hafsuddin. All the required things that are needed as beneficial tools to establish and attain the necessity of spirituality were already contained in the divine law, such as all the principles, rituals, the belief in angels, messengers, the day of judgment, and so on. So these are also common beliefs in Christianity and Judaism. Monotheism, belief in one God, belief in angels, there are such notions in Abrahamic religions. All these things were mentioned to serve the purpose of establishing spirituality as a necessity in the existence of humans on earth. In addition to that, another set of rules exists to maintain this necessity of spirituality and to protect it against destruction. Islam laid down the principles of justice, fairness, freedom, equality, prosperity, success, and the truthfulness for people on earth. Jihad, mainly it means inner struggle, struggling, juhd, the root word. Sometimes it is confused with the term war. There is another word in the Quran, qital, which means war. So jihad has a wider meaning than war. So jihad is legislated not to force people against their own will to join Islam, but rather as a tool and mechanism to help maintain the peace that allows for the peaceful spread of message about the religion of monotheism, justice and equality to the entire world and protect it against attack. After people receive the message, it's up to them to accept Islam or choose otherwise. And there is a verse in the Quran, Allah states, as it was mentioned before, there is no compulsion in religion. Faith is a matter of heart. So, if you put pressure on a person to convert to a religion, it's not a religion. Hypocrisy. It's going to produce hypocrisy. So war most often begins as a personal or national interests for land, resources, or other political or economic reasons. Islam prohibits this war and allows for jihad in the form of war in 3 situations. So, the first, defense of life, property, and national boundaries without transgression. Allah the Exalted says in the Quran, fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you, but do not transgress limits, for Allah loves not transgressors. The second reason for war or jihad, let's say, removing oppression and the just rights of oppressed people. Upon examining attentively the Quranic verses in which God demands Muslims to fight, we find a clear evidence that war should be a means to drive away oppression, aggression, and tyranny. For example, some verses in the Quran say, the believers against whom war is waged are given permission to fight in response, for they have been wronged. I will move forward in that verse. Were it not for God's repelling some people by means of others, monasteries and churches and synagogues and mosques where God is regularly worshipped and his name is much mentioned would surely have been pulled down. God most certainly help whoever helps his cause. Surely God is all strong, glorious, with irresistible might. So the chapter 22, verses 39 and 40. Such verses show that Islam demands for the protection, defense, the support of oppressed people of the world and freedom in religion. Third reason for war, defense of faith and religion. Allah the Exalted says in the glorious Quran, and fight them on until there is no more tumult or oppression, and there prevails justice and faith in Allah, one God, altogether and everywhere. But if they cease, verily Allah does not see all that you do. Allah does see all that you do. This is one legitimate reason for entering a war. Once fitna has been eradicated, people can adopt different worldviews, and the followers of other faiths such as Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, and so forth are free to live according to their own religions. But public order should not be harmed by any of these. So, preservation of religion is the first essential need. If you look at the Bible, the Old Testament, let's say Exodus, chapter 20, Deuteronomy, chapter 5, talks about the 10 commandments. And the first 4 commandments are about actually faith in God. For example, the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods besides me. The first commandment. The second commandment, thou shalt not use the name of God in vain. The third commandment, thou shalt not engrave images to worship. The fourth, keep the Sabbath day holy. So all these commandments are an example for the preservation of religion and faith. So there is a common point. This is the crucial to Abrahamic religions. The second essential need, the preservation of nafs or human life. Human life is sacred and gift from God, the Creator. According to Islamic divine law, life is a necessity and it is one of the top priorities that must be preserved at all costs. Without the mentioned legitimate reasons, all killing is prohibited in Islam. And whomever kills someone, it's chapter 5, verse 32, it is as if you killed the whole mankind. Whomever saves one's life, it is as if you saved the whole mankind. Every human is unique, representative of mankind. If all people died except one, then that person is the only one who represents mankind among other existence, such as animals, trees, whatever on earth. So in Islam, killing falls into 3 types: intentional or premeditated murder, manslaughter, and total mistake. Islam commands the execution of anyone who killings are separate categories with separate lesser sentences, and blood money is paid to the close relatives of the victim. The family or the heirs of the killed victim are given a diye, blood money, unless they choose to forgive the killer. In that respect, the killer must repent to God and make atonement by the freeing a slave. This is a kind of way to eradicate slavery at that time. And if it is not possible, by fasting for 2 consecutive months. Man is not allowed to deprive himself of permissible food, drink, clothing, marriage, and proper care under any pretexts. If that causes him harm, Allah the Exalted states in the Holy Quran, say, who has forbidden the beautiful gifts of God, which He has produced for His servants, and the things clean and pure, for sustenance? All these regulations are for the preservation of nafs, of life.
Could you please summarize?
I will move forward. How much time left for me? Actually, I would say 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
The preservation of mind after this is the third essential necessity of life. And intelligence is the basis of all meaningful and responsible actions and accountability. Islam prohibits intoxicants that impair the judgment, activity of the mind, and degrade man. So alcohol is forbidden for the preservation of the mind, and also to protect the honor of mankind. The fourth essential need for life, the preservation of honor, family, and lineage. Because of that, Islam places special value on strong family bonds and good relations among relatives, since the family is the basis of the foundation of the society. So many rules help protect this family against breakup and disintegration. The fifth essential need is the preservation of wealth. Private wealth and property are the basis of the economy and the livelihood of the members of the society. So Islam protects personal wealth and imposes very strict penalties against banditry, robbery, thievery, and any violations against sanctity of the property. Cheating, embezzlement, monopoly, hoarding, and many other harmful practices are forbidden, prohibited. So these are essential necessities. After that, the second circle is human exigencies. So these are some complementary things or matters that people need in order to remove restrictions and difficulties in applying the 5 essential necessities. So it's trying to achieve a level in which people will form higher moral values. And after that, embellishments. Actually, so many things should be said about them, but because of the limited time, I'm just moving forward. Embellishments are intended to render human affairs or conditions more suited to the requirements of the highest standards of the moral conduct. So, as a conclusion, if these benefits are compared to circles, one inside the other, there are some logical implications, priorities, and characteristics for these 3 circles. The central circle, which holds the Quran and the Sunnah, represents the source of legislation and the source of establishing and procuring benefits. The second circle is universal and dynamic. Its global vitality resides in the fact that these 5 necessities are necessary to every single culture, regardless of whether it is Islamic or not. The failure to preserve these necessities results in chaos for that culture, regardless of its identity. The 5 necessities must be preserved according to their priorities: religion, life, intellect, progeny, and property, preservation of them. Changing the priorities of these necessities will lead to perplexity in the moral life by changing the priorities in the standard of moral values. Thus, for example, property, money, if it comes before faith or before protection of life, then it's going to cause some chaos in society, as we witness today. Okay, let's come to the case study. The first question: would it be morally right to kill 10 people in order to save 910 people? So I'll try to give the answer as a quotation from Ghazali's book. So according to Ghazali, on the basis of Sharia, it is morally wrong to kill some people in order to save others. Why? Al-Ghazali gave 3 reasons against the justification of killing in this case. First, universality. The benefit of people in this case, the majority, is not a universal benefit. It is only the interest of a small community who are going to use others as means to their end. The second reason, necessity. The benefit of those people on the boat is not necessary to a degree to break another necessity and kill humans. The third reason, certainty. We are not certain that killing those people is going to save the rest. What if they killed them and after that they faced another problem at sea? Should they kill another 10 people to save the rest? This is morally unjustifiable and becomes out of control. So the lesson we derive from here: the ends, no matter how noble, do not justify the means. Thank you for listening.
So thank you, Professor.